I think, first of all, Davante Adams is out of his mind. I think Randy Moss was a great wide receiver. I'm not taking anything away from Randy Moss. He was one of the warriors at his position. That guy would go up there and he would always come down with the ball. Always. It didn't matter who he was playing against, what corner he was playing against. He always came down with the ball. The guy was tough. He's one of the greatest to ever play. One of the top 5 greatest wide receivers ever to play. Jerry Rice was on a whole nother level. And I know everybody says the game was different in the 90s. He still played with Joe Montana. He played with Steve Young. He went over there in Oakland. He played with Rich Gannon. He played with other great wide receivers like Tim Brown and those talented San Francisco teams. We know all about that. And obviously there was no trading at that time. There was no free agency at that time. It took a while, and it took a while when it did open up. Remember, Jerry Rice was drafted in the early 80s. When it did open up, he obviously decided to go to Oakland. That's where he wanted to play after he left San Francisco. Jerry Rice played 22, 23 years. Every single year had almost 1,000 yards every single year. 197 touchdowns. I don't even know if that'll ever be broken. I cannot say right now that there's any wide receiver that's better than Jerry Rice. And honestly, if you were to ask me right now, who would you take? Terrell Owens or Randy Moss? I take T.O. over Randy Moss. Now, I wouldn't take T.O.'s antics on the field, dancing around on the Cowboy star and throwing the bird to the Cowboy fans before he became a Cowboy. I wouldn't call that fun. I wouldn't call that normal, or doing sit-ups at the end of his driveway while every single press and every single writer was there trying to ask him questions about everything that was going on, I think, with Donovan McNabb. Or the antics of him crying to the press, "It's my quarterback. It's my quarterback." I mean, this is, Terrell Owens was full of craziness. Full of craziness. But if you were to ask me right now, who's the second greatest wide receiver ever to play the game? It's T.O. It's not even an argument. You want to put Randy Moss at 3? You could do that. I take other wide receivers over Randy Moss. Calvin Johnson, he played 10 years in the NFL. Megatron. How many players put up the numbers that Calvin Johnson did in a 10-year span? So you can argue you take Calvin Johnson over a guy like Randy Moss. That doesn't take away how great Randy Moss is. How many championships did Randy Moss win? Zilch. Well, you're going to say, well, how many did Calvin Johnson win? He played for the Lions. Right. I mean, he had a quarterback in Matthew Stafford that had to be traded to the Rams to win a championship. How many coaches did Calvin Johnson have with the Lions in a 10-year span? I think it was like 5. Still put up numbers in that winless season. Jerry Rice won a championship. Everybody says it's all about how many championships you win. That's why Tom Brady's the GOAT. Is that what we hear all the time? Tom Brady's the greatest of all time because he's won more championships than anybody else. And Davante Adams, I'm sure he believes that he's the best wide receiver in the NFL right now. He's not anymore. He hasn't been that in 2 years. No. He hasn't. Since he left Aaron Rodgers, he has not been one of the top 5 wide receivers in the league. I mean, Tyreek Hill, I don't know if anybody saw his numbers last year. He's pretty damn good. I mean, I would say there are tight ends right now I take over a guy like Davante Adams. Laporta, I take a couple of them right now over him. Travis Kelce, would you take Travis Kelce over him right now? I think I would. Davante Adams has not been any way, the shape or form as good as he was when he played with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe that's why he brings up a guy like Jordan Love. That's why he would like to play with Jordan Love, because of what kind of numbers he put up last year with nobody, a bunch of rookie wide receivers. When you look at wide receivers now in the NFL, they're making a ton of money. Yeah, they're making a ton of money. And now that they make their ton of money, like Deebo Samuel, he can't stay healthy. A lot of these wide receivers are prima donnas. They get their money, they get their salary, and they can sit. And they're not going to get traded. Why aren't they getting traded? Because their teams, 50% of their team's offense is run through them. So Deebo Samuel, I mean, Christian McCaffrey is probably now 65, 70% right now of the San Francisco 49ers offense. After that, Deebo Samuel, when healthy, he's probably, and Ayuk is there still, but Deebo Samuel's probably 15%. Ayuk is about 10, and George Kittle's about 8. Okay, that's and the other guys are like 2 or 3. All right, so I mean Christian McCaffrey is everything to their offense, but Deebo Samuel does everything. He can run the ball, he can catch the ball, he does everything. He can even throw the ball. We saw last year as well.